Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am honored and have pleasure to be here with you, and I thank the organizer for having invited the European Space Agency to this important event. As it was recalled a few times already earlier, we are celebrating this year 50 years of the European Space Agency. And this picture is showing you where we started 50 years ago, with 10 countries joining their efforts, and where we are today, 23 countries. And 10 years ago, Hungary was joining ESA, and we are also celebrating that. This image is very important, because the images that I'm going to show you in a minute would have not been possible if those guys 50 years ago were not deciding to join forces and to do things together that could have been impossible to be achieved for a single country. But why space is important? Why we should preserve the use of space for future generations? Why we should make space sustainable and long-lasting for the use of our children and grandchildren and so on. First, because space is bringing knowledge. Space is bringing knowledge of our galaxy, and this is an image of the Gaia scientific satellite. But it is also going beyond and giving information about stars that are 500 light years distant from us, or galaxies that are 700 million light years distant from us. And these are images that are coming from the James Webb Space Telescope that has been launched and developed together by ESA and NASA. But we are also looking after other possible planets where life could be. And this is an image of Plato, the next mission of ESA that is exploring exoplanets like the Earth to discover whether there could be life over there. If we remain in low Earth orbit, we have been starting exploiting this orbit with the International Space Station. Again, an example of international collaboration where Tibor, your astronaut, has spent this year a couple of weeks making experiments. But we have been going already to Mars, where our gas orbiter is there since a couple of years, taking images of the surface of the planet, where we are going to land, possibly not by 2030, but a few years later. And then we are looking forward for going to the moon again. And this is the Lunar Gateway, where we are collaborating with the United States to bring other humans on the satellite of the Earth. But we are not only looking outside the Earth. We are also looking from space inside, so we're looking at our planet. And just a couple of examples of missions that have been recently launched by ESA that are aiming at better understanding, and we come back to the knowledge, our planet. So Healthcare, that is exploring how clouds and aerosols are impacting climate change, or Biomass, which is a space mission that is looking at the carbon cycle of our forest. And these are just two examples. But space is also providing data to develop application services that are at the service of humans and are tackling key challenges of these times. Mobility, so navigation services, positioning services, or agriculture. Space is providing data which is helping to have better crops in places where they are not enough for the people that is living there. Or water management, which is another very precious resources, and energy management. So these aspects are peculiar. You can do that combining data that is coming from space and space applications. But there are things that are necessary to put objects into space, so the basic, the building blocks. First of all, you need a launcher system, a rocket. And this is something that at ESA we have been developing for more than 50 years, so before the birth of the agency. You need also tracking stations, deep space antenna, to see how data that are coming from far away can be processed and used by the scientific community. And finally, but not certainly least, you need technology, a solid technological basis, pushing forward innovation, research into space. And from space, you can also learn something else. You have certainly the only means to evaluate what we call climate variables. Climate change is something that is happening today. It is creating problems in terms of floods, fires, and the climate variables have been used from the United Nations, and in particular, climate variables coming from European satellites for years to identify why the planet is going that way and what we can be doing to avoid worsening the situation. So you can understand that we need to have a space for the future generation. We must preserve the use of space. And space industry has a peculiarity. It is impacting 3 different environments. And I'm going to tell you that these 3 different environments are deeply linked one other. So the first environment is the deep space and the planets and the moon that are out there. So we are going to explore. We are keeping exploring. We are doing that since many times, and we are going to do it again. And therefore, we must be responsible over there. We must use wisely the resources that we have been allowed. This is the case already on the International Space Station, but will be more and more the case if we are going to the moon and then to Mars. So we have to learn the circular economy principles applied to space. Reuse, recycle, repurposing. And this is providing a lot of commercial opportunities. I know that this conference, this day, is devoted to space economy. The space economy is taking a lot of opportunities in space servicing to make things happening with the resources that are available there, reusing satellites that are there, reusing materials that are there, and rebuilding things in space. So this is a mantra for the European Space Agency. But then we have Earth's orbit, so the low Earth orbit in particular, the one that is much crowded. Mega constellations, new services, new satellites, thousands of launches. The orbit out there is crowded, so we must take care of it. And the last but not least, as all the activities, all the industrial activities, space is impacting our Earth. So we must take care of it. All this to say that we still keep at ESA very well in mind to maximize the benefits of the activities that we are doing, to render service to our member states that are investing in space. But on the other side, we want to minimize the environmental impacts across the 3 environments. The first one, as I was telling you, basing our exploration on circular economy principles. The second one, low Earth orbit, applying a strict policy of net zero space debris. So no more space debris generated by an ESA satellite starting from 2030. We already have strict technical guidelines, and we have been promoting a charter, an international charter, to put around the table all the countries and operators that are willing to reduce to zero space debris. Because space debris in low Earth orbit are the worst enemy to the sustainability of space activities in space. And then last but not least, we want to decrease and reduce to the minimum the environmental impact of industrial activities. And that's the reason why we are working very hard with our companies, with our suppliers, to reduce the energy consumption of engineering processes, to use materials that are less impactful on the atmosphere, to study very well how launches and re-entries are impacting on the upper levels of the atmosphere, generating during the burning phase compounds that may be dangerous for our biosphere. And there is a program at ESA that is running for now 4 years almost, that is the ESA Green Agenda, and it is exactly looking after that. As well as I was mentioning, the zero debris technical guidelines. So I would like to conclude on the last picture, which is in a way looping back the beginning, because we are talking about collaboration. Again, as collaboration was fundamental to start and continue the activities undertaken by the European Space Agency since 50 years, and it was important to have an international cooperation to promote the use of outer space through the International Space Station. So this is today very important to gather international collaboration with partners, actors, stakeholders, universities, academia, private and public entities, towards a more responsible use of space. So we have been launching 3 years ago the Statement for a Responsible Space Sector that today has more than 100 signatories in the space community. And in terms of collaboration, I already mentioned the Zero Debris Charter, which in turn is signed by governments and actors in space to engage and respect the zero debris policy at the global level. So collaboration, again, is fundamental. And with that, I thank you very much for your attention.